Let's talk about AI, but maybe not in the way you're used to. Forget the superintelligence, forget the killer robots for a minute. Today, we're digging into a promise, a really beautiful, really comforting promise that technology, and especially AI, has been whispering in our ears for a long, long time.
This quote just nails it, right? It perfectly frames this whole story we tell ourselves about AI. It's this comforting lie. We're sold this amazing idea that this new tool is the one. It's finally going to be the thing that frees us up, that lets us all become geniuses. But what if that story, as nice as it sounds, is just plain wrong?
And there it is. That's the lie, spelled out. It's this grand utopian dream. AI will handle all the boring stuff, the grunt work, and we'll finally have all this free time to, write poetry, cure diseases, and just think deep thoughts. It's a wonderful idea. But today, we're going to take that idea apart, piece by piece, using a little bit of psychology, some economics, and a whole lot of cold, hard data.
So where do we even begin to poke holes in this beautiful lie? Well, we don't start with the technology. We start with us. Because the first big problem with this whole idea is baked right into our own brains. It's governed by what you could call an iron law of laziness.
Okay, quick question for you. Just look at this. You need to get to the other side of that hill. Are you going to take the steep, difficult, sweaty path over it, or the flat, easy, chill walk around it? Come on, be honest. Unless you're specifically out for a workout, you're taking the easy path. We all are, every single time. And that simple choice, it tells you almost everything you need to know about human nature.
That choice you just made, it's not a moral failing, it's a scientific principle. It's called the principle of least effort. It's a core feature of our programming. Our brains are literally hardwired to save energy. Thinking burns calories, so our brain's job is to find the fastest, easiest shortcut to an answer that's just good enough. So if we are fundamentally built to take the easy road, why on earth would we suddenly choose the hard path of deep thinking just because an app saved us a few minutes?
And this lazy principle, it goes way deeper than you might think. I mean, it literally shapes the words coming out of my mouth right now. A linguist named George Ziff figured out that in any language, the words we use the most, words like the, or I, are also the shortest. Why? Because it's just less effort to say them. So the very tool we use for our highest, most complex thoughts is itself built on a foundation of pure, unadulterated laziness.
Okay, so that's pillar number one. Our brains are wired to take the path of least resistance. Now let's move on to pillar number two. We're going to switch gears from psychology to a really weird, counterintuitive idea from economics called the efficiency trap. For this, let's hop in a time machine. We're going back to the 1800s. A guy named James Watt comes along and makes the steam engine way more efficient. So now it can get way more power out of a lump of coal. The logical thinking at the time was, awesome, we're going to use so much less coal now. But, you guessed it, the exact opposite happened. Coal use went through the roof. What was going on?
Well, what was going on is something called the Jevons Paradox. And the logic is actually pretty simple when you think about it. Making the steam engine more efficient didn't make coal less useful. It made the power you could get from coal way cheaper. And when something gets cheaper, do we use less of it? No way. We use more of it. We find all sorts of new ways to use it. So, what does a 19th century engine have to do with your brain and AI? Everything. Think of your time and your mental energy just like coal. AI comes along and promises to make using that mental energy more efficient. But the Jevons Paradox kicks in. We get this cognitive rebound effect. The mental energy we saved doesn't get put in the bank for later. Nope, it just became cheaper. And so we immediately spend it on the easiest, most available thing, which is usually more content, more scrolling, more distraction. More efficiency doesn't create a surplus, it just fuels more consumption.
Okay, so that's the theory. Our brains are lazy, and making things easier just makes us want more of the easy stuff. But is that what actually happens in the real world? Well, let's stop guessing and look at the data. The US government actually keeps a super detailed diary of how Americans spend their time, and it tells a very clear story.
So, according to the American Time Use Survey, the average American has just over 5 hours of leisure time every single day. 5 hours. That's a lot of time, right? That's definitely enough time to become a poet or an artist or a brilliant thinker. So, how are we spending it?
Yeah, well, the breakdown is something else. Of those 5 precious hours of freedom, we spend 2.6 of them, more than half, just watching TV. And what about those higher pursuits? Well, reading for fun gets a whole 17 minutes a day. Hitting the gym or playing sports gets about 19. The difference here isn't just big, it's staggering.
Look, the numbers just don't lie.
When we're handed the gift of free time, we don't default to becoming creators. We don't default to becoming deep thinkers. We default to becoming spectators. We overwhelmingly choose the path of least cognitive effort, and in our world, that means sitting in front of a screen.
All right, so our brains are lazy, efficiency is a trap, and we spend our free time binging shows. You'd think that's the end of the story, but there is one final piece to this puzzle, and honestly, this is the most ironic and maybe the most shocking part of this whole thing. It's all about who is actually getting this so-called free time.
To really get this, we need to rewind the clock. Go back to the mid-1980s, right when the personal computer was starting to take off. This is the birth of the information economy. It leads us right through the rise of the internet in the 90s, the digital explosion of the 2000s, and straight into our current age of AI. Just keep that timeline in your head, because what happens next is wild.
So, since that whole computer revolution started, something completely unexpected happened. Look at this. For highly educated workers, the knowledge workers, the people actually designing all these time-saving tools, their leisure time is actually decreased by 6 hours a week. Meanwhile, for men who didn't finish high school, their leisure time has increased by 8 hours a week. It's a total reversal of what you'd expect. It's a great divergence.
And this is the ultimate brutal irony of the whole story. The promise was that technology would free up the best and brightest to have even more time to create and innovate. But the reality? It's the exact opposite. The architects of our convenience-obsessed world are working more than ever. The leisure dividend, all that so-called free time, it isn't going to them. It's flowing somewhere else. And as we already saw, it's getting filled up with the very passive entertainment their inventions are so good at creating.
Which kind of leaves us with this one final, pretty uncomfortable question. If this whole promise of AI freeing us up to be poets and philosophers is just a beautiful lie, then what are we actually building? Are we just building ourselves a really, really comfortable gilded cage? And is the cruelest joke of all that the people building it are working overtime, not to find a way out, but to make the bars just a little more perfect?